So I've had some pretty good success on Facebook Marketplace recently. I'm going to buy a new microphone today. I'm pretty pumped about it. That has nothing to do with this video except that I will probably use that mic in this video. In fact, yeah, I'm just going to commit. I'm going to do it. This video is about something completely different though. This video is about Strats versus Teles. Now, usually people fall into one camp or the other, and I'm going to try to convince you why you should probably have both. I've owned a Telecaster for most of my guitar playing career. I've owned a Strat for a good part of it, of different variations, this one being my favorite. So we're going to compare these two. Now, this isn't scientific. These are two very different spec guitars. These are two completely different builders, and in fact, you could make the argument that subjectively one is better than the other simply because it cost about $1,500 more. But that's not the point of this video. We're talking about Strats and Teles. We're gonna have a good time. And in fact, before that, I've got to go pick up a new microphone that I bought off Facebook Marketplace, or am buying from someone off of Facebook Marketplace. So let's go get that, and then we'll jump into the video. Alright, so I'm in the car, I'm going to get this microphone. It's kind of rainy, kind of gray outside today, but it's a nice change of pace from the blaring hot southern heat of August. What we really want to talk about here are Strats and Teles, right? So, Stratocaster versus Telecaster. Which one's better for you? Well, if you're playing metal or really heavy music, maybe not the guitar to go with. But there's something to be said for how the Telecaster can really hold its own in a wide variety of genres. And the same thing with Strats. Typically, people say that Teles sound a little bit bigger, a little bit meatier, almost like a thinner sounding Les Paul. Versus a Strat is kind of more its own thing. You kind of get the 2 and the 4 positions, which are the out of phase, so that's neck and middle pickup, and then the middle and bridge pickup, and that kind of has a sound that's great for funk. But you have guys like Prince that did a lot of funk type stuff, and he used a Telecaster. So is there one of them that's better for certain genres and another that's better for other genres? Personally, I don't really think so, but they definitely do sound different. So I'm going to get this microphone, and then we're going to talk about that. Alright, just got the mic, pretty stoked. Let's see if I can get it out here for you. Just a good old Cascade Fathead. I mean, come on. You can't beat that. Huge, really cool ribbon mic, really excited about it. Just got it for a killer deal. So, yeah, let's do this thing. So let's start with the older of the two models, the Telecaster. Now, technically, this was not the first electric guitar that Leo Fender designed. You had the Esquire and the Broadcaster and the Nocaster before it became the Telecaster, but I'm mainly talking about this 2-pickup slap board kind of guitar. So this one in particular is just a run-of-the-mill mid-2000s made in Mexico Telecaster. I've upgraded the bridge to a more traditional 3-saddle design, and I have a combination of bare knuckle and McNelly pickups in it, but that's not really the point. The point is, what would you use a Telecaster for that you wouldn't use a Strat for? Well, for me, I love using a Telecaster for riffing. If I'm doing any kind of like single note or power chord stuff, or anything that just really has some meat to it that I'm really just grinding away on, I love using a Telecaster for that. Kind of the nature of it, the big, wide sounding pickups, has a little bit more meat. The string through body you can hear now even unplugged. The guitar resonates really well. It's got a lot of meat to it, it's got a lot of sustain, and it's great for big chords like that. Of course, you can get twangy with it. Again, this one in particular having different pickups, it's not as twangy as your typical Telecaster, but you can still get there. For me, the Telecaster is a great just rock and roll machine. Again, when I'm doing big chords, when I'm doing something that I just really want to go to town on, especially if it's very involved with the right hand and picking and all of that kind of stuff, I love using the Telecaster. fast forward to Leo's second production design. I'm talking about his 3 pickup double cutaway guitar that we commonly call the Stratocaster. So this one is not string through body like the Telecaster. It still does have good resonance, but the strings actually go through the bottom of this trim block. So there's a metal block in here and the strings go through the bottom of that. And since it has a trim, you can do all that kind of stuff that of course you couldn't do with the simple Telecaster. But the other thing about this guitar is the more refined curvature. Now this is not a Fender, so the curves are a little different. And this sir in particular has a more scooped cutaway here, but in general, your typical S-style guitar. I like the Strat when I want to play more refined parts. If I want something that's maybe a little more moody or ambient, I like the Strat. I think the pickups have a little bit more clarity to them. There's something kind of hi-fi about the 2 and 4 in between positions that I really like. And having a tremolo there, of course, just makes it all the more fun. Now for me, I also really like pulling out a Strat when I want to play fast. If I've got a solo or something, and it's not just a big rock bending kind of solo, and I want to really go for it, this is the guitar that I usually pull out. There's just something about it. Maybe it's this guitar, maybe it's a Strat in general, but this one really brings out a different style of playing for me. When I want to be really accurate, when I want things to just kind of have a little bit more vibe to them, I generally go for the Strat. Really quickly, I want to talk about what this video isn't. This is not a scientific comparison. These are 2 different guitars made by 2 different manufacturers with wildly different specs and necks and feels and different things like that. And they even have 2 different gauges of strings. So this is not going to be a definitive comparison on which one is absolutely better than the other. Frankly, there are other places you can go and other demoers you can find that are going to do a better job of that. This also isn't a real demo. This is just kind of how I use a Strat and how I use a Tele. Now I'm going to play some similar riffs back to back with the amp on the same settings. I'm running through my Shure Badger 18 and Badcat 112 cab, and I've got it mic'd up with a Shure SM57 and a Cascade Fathead ribbon microphone. I'm recording straight into my Universal Audio Apollo Twin, and I'm recording and editing everything in Universal Audio's Luna. So, without further ado, let's jump into some sounds. after listening back, I've found myself liking the Strat bridge pickup than I normally would. It's really bright, it's got a nice biting edge to it. Usually I would always prefer the Telecaster bridge pickup, but on some of the gainier stuff, it just really seems to work well. I was pretty surprised, and part of that actually is the Cascade Fathead, which of course is new to me as of today, but it captures a lot of the low-mid articulation as well as the high-end, the really bright presence, the pick attack, and all of the subtleties. So it does a really good job and works really well with the Strat. That said, the Telecaster's got some meat that's pretty undeniable. I mean, I think you can get some really heavy tones out of a good Telecaster if you're into that kind of thing. There have been plenty of times where I've tuned it down just to D standard tuning for certain parts, and it just sounds huge. Something about the string through design, some people would argue Leo Fender got it right the first time. But that said, the Strat Tremolo, the 2 and 4 positions, they're pretty hard to beat. But the good news is, you don't have to choose just one. You can have both. Now, if you're on a budget, you may not be able to have both immediately. But I think they're two very distinctive flavors that, while in the same family, are very different. It's hard to just pick one. Of course, you could eat one food for the rest of your life, but variety is the spice of life. So, have a Telecaster, have a Stratocaster, have yourself a good time. Alright guys, that is it for this video. Which one is your favorite? Do you prefer the Telecaster? Do you prefer the Stratocaster? What is it that you like or dislike about each? Let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, give it a like. If you've stayed this long, you obviously enjoy this kind of video. So hit that subscribe button and the bell icon to be notified when I post new videos. It really helps me out a lot. And I've linked some of the gear that I use in the description below. Those are all affiliate links. So that means you buy them for the same normal price you always would. I get a small commission off of it. Very small. In fact, yeah, it's basically negligible unless a ton of you buy stuff. So if you're gonna buy the stuff, please buy it through those links. Helps me out a lot. Really appreciate it. That's it for this video, and I will see you guys in the next one.